name's Bill and I'm living large and loving life in Olympia, Washington. I am here today to talk to you about the environment. What's the environment? It's everywhere. It's the water you drink, the air you breathe, the land you walk on. The environment is our concern today, and let me give you a couple reasons why. 80% of the world's forests have been logged. Stop and think about that one for a second, please. 80% of the world's forests have been cleared. A squirrel, okay, could go from limb to limb to limb to limb, from the great northern woods of Maine all the way to the Mississippi River and never touch ground. How far do you think that squirrel would make it today? 15% of the Amazon rainforest is gone, logged. Why is that important, you ask? If you're sitting in Iowa and you're having your dinner in Des Moines right now and you're asking yourself, what in the hell do I care whether the Amazon rainforest is disappearing? Well, I'll be glad to tell you, okay? I'll be the teacher for a second. All of the world's weather starts at the equator. I don't know how many of you actually realize that, but it is true. All of the weather that we have in the world begins at the equator. Okay. The warm air rises, meets the jet air or the jet streams, and then is carried around the globe. Take away the Amazon rainforest and you're asking for a whole lot of wild weather. That's not some, ozone layer greenhouse, hippie crap that, some people rail against. That is a scientific fact that the weather begins at the equator. You cannot take the forests away from the equator without greatly affecting the weather. Hello? Hello? 15% of the Amazon is gone. Gone. 80% of the world's forests are gone. And we wonder why the weather is so extreme in the last few decades. It's just the beginning. Just the beginning. We can't turn back the clock and say we made an oops. It's gone. I won't even talk to you about the animals and the birds that are affected by this. We'll just talk for a second about the huge impact this has on our climate. Okay. Why is it gone? What are the main reasons for deforestation? Some is for commercial farming and subsistence farming. The majority of it is for commercialization and housing. The vast majority, 62% of the deforestation occurs because man needs more cement laid on the ground so that we can build more buildings. If it's this bad now, what's it going to be in 20 years when we add another billion people to the planet? This is one of those things that everybody will agree. Everybody's going to say, oh, he's right. Bill's right. Yeah. But nobody does anything about it. We live in a commercialized world. We have more demands. We have more demands. We have more demands. Population increases. There's more demands, more demands. When does it stop? I've got friends that live in an 8,000 square foot home, husband and wife. Why? I would need a seeing eye dog to get out of an 8,000 square foot home. I wouldn't know how to roam around something that big. Why do two people need 8,000 square feet to live? I would feel a little silly bringing that up, except it's not an isolated incident. Bev and I will ask you, why would somebody need 3,000 square feet to live. Why would somebody need 2,000 square feet to live? Another author on one of the sites, Hub Pages, there's a little plug for Hub Pages, another author on one of the sites, her and her husband and their 4 children are selling their home in Kansas and moving to a town in the Sierra Nevadas in California. They're going to move home in Kansas, 3,000 square feet. They're moving into a home in the Sierra Nevadas, 900 square feet. And they're ecstatic about it. They do not need the trappings of modern living. Nobody needs it. It's just that it's convenient and it rewards us for our hard work, and all the while we're cutting things down and ruining the environment. Everybody has a responsibility. You can't say, oh no, just because we wanted to live in a nice home, that doesn't mean we're ruining the environment. Yeah, it does. It does. Water, I don't know how many of you know that, we don't invent water. Okay? There is no new water. The same water that the Tyrannosaurus Rex took a bath in is still here today. Okay? Your pet dog Rex is now taking a bath in the same water that the Tyrannosaurus. It's the water cycle, it just keeps going. Okay? We don't add new water to it. It just keeps recycling. Why is Bill bringing this up? Because if you foul that water supply, where are you going to get new water? Just curious. If you use pesticides in your yard, who's going to fix that? If you change oil in your driveway and the oil leaks into the groundwater, who's going to fix that? Yeah, we do have ways to fix that, to purify the water. That, unfortunately, requires energy. Oh, I wonder where the energy comes from. This is endless, guys. We can't just point at somebody else and say, it's their problem. This is everybody's problem, and yet everybody thinks it's just going to either go away or we'll die and we won't have to worry about it. We'll leave it for our kids to worry about it. Because our kids, who are now 5, 6, 8 years old, are going to be 25, 26, 28 years old, where another billion people are using everything on the planet to their use and for their gratification. So now whose problem is it? Oh, I love you, little Tommy. I'm so sorry I'm going to leave you with a world that's spiraling out of control. But I do love you. Mommy loves you. Daddy loves you. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. You cannot blame other people. We all do it. Do we recycle the way we should? Do we? Where does plastic come from? We are the greatest plastic users in the history of mankind. We invented it, and by God, we're going to use it every single chance we get. And yet, using plastic harms the environment. If you don't know how, look it up. I'm not going to waste my time if you honestly do not know how plastic hurts the environment. Look it up. Have you planted a tree lately? Have you put in a garden lately? Have you planted some flowers lately? Have you turned off the lights when you've left the room or the house? Have you set your thermostat down lower so it doesn't always, run during the day? Do you have air conditioning? And if so, okay. If you're 80 and you got, like heat problems, I get it. If you're my age and you don't have heat problems, why do you need air conditioning? Sweat. It's good for you. Because it's convenient and it makes me feel good. Well, hell, there's a good reason. Earth, we'll get back to ya. Sorry. We need to feel better. This video is going to piss some people off. Oh well. I'd rather you be pissed off at me and maybe, just maybe, turn your lights off at night. Disconnect the damn sprinkling system out on your yard so you can have an immaculate emerald lawn for everybody to ooh and ah at. I'd rather you be mad at me and maybe turn that thing off. Good God. Can you tell that I'm a little, I don't know, emotional about this? This is where we live. We cannot keep ruining it. Commercialization is ruining this world. The need for more things is ruining this world. And it's everybody's fault. Everybody. So Bev and I are going to do what we can do. Okay? I've showed you this before. This is, God, I love Bev. This was for my birthday, huh? This was my birthday present last year. It's a diorama that Bev spent 2 years working on. Okay, yeah, she worked for a living, so it's not like she's staying every day putting little for 2 years. But in her spare time for 2 years, this is the farm we're going to move to in 3 years. Okay, it's going to be a self-sustaining farm. We're not going to pipe power in and drain the system for our farm. We're going to have wind turbines and we're going to have solar panels. We're going to do it ourselves. Okay? And I don't. Anybody tells me we aren't going to do this, well then get a seat and watch. In 3 years, we're going to buy a farm. We're going to make it self-sustaining. We're going to do our farming ourselves. We're going to grow our own food. We're going to have no pesticides because Bev hates pesticides. And seriously, since I read Rachel Carson's book Silent Spring, I've hated pesticides too. But I was guilty, dandelions, I'd go out and spray them, thinking, what's the big deal? Well, it is a big deal. If you got 20 million households in America spraying dandelions, it's a big deal. The DDT is going into the groundwater, folks. Hello. Anyway, we're going to live on a farm, self-sustaining farm. We're going to make it a school ground, a classroom, an outdoor classroom, and that's what we're going to do in 3 years. Because we believe that strongly in this. We're going to build a home, or we're going to buy a mini home, but it's going to be no bigger than 1,000 square feet, and we're going to live incredibly comfortably. Why? Because we don't need anything more than that. Don't need it. You don't need it either. You just want it. There are things I want. I go buy a mocha on Saturday. I want it. I don't buy it from Starbucks. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. But I do buy a mocha because I want it. It rewards me for working hard during the week. I do not need to be rewarded by buying a 6,000 square foot home. Or an SUV that gets 14 miles to the gallon is not my idea of rewarding myself while screwing everybody else. What do you think, Beth?
Well done. Well done.
I'll leave you with a quote today. It's by the famous philosopher George Burns. Okay, you may recognize the name. Great comedian for about 50, 60 years in the United States. George Burns said, "I remember when the air was clean and sex was dirty." That's it. George speaks the truth. Live long and prosper. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.